Vampire the Masquerade, Night Road. The kindred here keep disappearing downstairs, but you're sure you're not allowed to feed in an Elysium. Your palms itch. You can't stay here. You need to see what this city has to offer. As if sensing your mood, Alexander returns, his approach heralded by his reeking breath. You are hungry? Yes? The prince is curious about you, so you may feed freely tonight. After that, return to me. One thing only, do not feed on the sleeping. The descendants of the old prince must feed that way, and they do not like competition. You lean over the edge of the railing, looking down on Tucson. For years you've taken blood wherever you could, usually as payment for a job. But most vampires your age hunt, and most of them specialize. Before you became a courier, you too had a specialty. You think back to those years with disdain, before you drove the night roads to perpetuate your existence. You try to remember those skills you developed to feed. Beggars and vagrants? During sex? What can I say? It's a classic. On blood bags. It tastes like shit and can leave me a little weak, but this is the future, and the only humane path. The sleeping. The Camarilla doesn't want me to, but I learned how to do it quietly and safely. From people in the scene, it's time to check out Tucson's counterculture. That might be a masquerade risk, but I'm a traditionalist, and I've learned how to blend in. So, on a previous run, I've done the during sex. Can't quite see a Tory being happy with beggars and vagrants. So I guess we're gonna hit the club scene. Before your embrace, the kindred hid in and maintained a complex, overlapping counterculture of musicians, artists, political philosophers, and cultural hangers-on. This was a deliberate artifice, a counterculture of convenience, used by the undead to hide their activities. Various occult, spiritual, romantic, and bohemian movements fulfilled similar functions in previous decades. But the world is more diffuse now, without much of a mainstream culture for a counterculture to react to. By the time you joined the ranks of the undead, that old counterculture's vitality had bled out into indie rock, steampunk fashion, and a dozen other places. But goth isn't as dead, not where kindred walk. You return to where you got your leather jacket and check yourself again in the mirror. It's a bit functional and not particularly sexy, but you'll blend right in. Even half disabled to prevent tracking, your cheap flip phone turns up a dozen hits for goth club around Tucson. You walk to the nearest one. Peter Murphy's Strange Kind of Love hits you like a wall of hammers as you enter. The music hasn't changed, but you think the bass technology has gotten better. It feels like your eyeballs are jiggling. It's about... One of the kids is trying to shout to another over the music right next to your ear. It's about Gorilla God's romance with Monster Ma. I said it's about... This will not do. You cross the dance floor and find a quiet corner against the poster-encrusted wall where you can sit, order a drink you won't touch, and contemplate your next move. You're not here for sex, but the hunt is an aesthetic experience for you nonetheless. Tonight it will be... Whoever catches my eye. It always is. He doesn't look like one of those kids you passed. He's older, with a touch of gray in his beard, dark, piercing eyes. He's wearing a tight black turtleneck, tight black pants. Very functional, not trying to impress. But you see the way his eyebrow quirks up when he sits down across from you. He wants to impress you. Oh shit, is he another vampire? It's happened before. It's always so embarrassing. Should you ask? You've honestly been out of the game for so long enough that you're not sure. It's usually the same faces here, he says, night after night. You try not to smile as this guy tries to affect the eternal boredom of the undead. He's just playing. Well, you can play at being a vampire too. And that's exactly what you do, smiling at him with your eternally young face. It strikes you that you're about his age. He enjoys the role playing for all the wrong reasons, then asks where you go to school. You look like you go to college, right? You died in your 20s, for Christ's sake. Do you look like a high schooler? Maybe the light here makes you look younger. Instead of answering, you nod for him to get up. He smiles, rises graciously. Guys like this are always gracious until they can't get what they want, and leads you into a hallway with padded black walls. Here? You'd expected at least a car ride somewhere nice. Whatever. At least it's quiet. Your fangs come out before you can turn around. He jerks helplessly for a second in your embrace, then loses himself to the kiss, his arms limp at his sides. You can't vouch for this guy's personality, but his blood is exquisite. You force yourself to stop. He just stands there, dazed and ecstatic, as you grab him one last time and run your tongue across his throat, just under his salt and pepper beard, to make the puncture wounds vanish. He won't remember a thing. You leave him there, standing facing the wall. It won't always be that easy, you think, as you sit on a park bench, sluggishly moving your stolen blood around your body. New vampires can always have fun for the first few nights, but then other kindred learn about your tricks, or the hunters notice statistical anomalies, or the herd itself instinctively reacts to the invisible predator in their midst. But tonight, you feel good. A Lotus Spirit Turbo in powder blue rolls up to the curb, blaring synthwave loud enough to scare the crows. The driver flings a parcel your way. When you pick it up, he peels out. The parcel contains a card for a pawn shop. Written on the back, cars. There's also an extended stay ticket for a parking garage with a 4-digit key code written on the back. So it looks like you have a place to park. Even after midnight, it feels dangerous to run across the wide, palm tree-lined boulevard that leads to your destination. You need a car. You're itching like earlier when you needed blood. Only now, the need is to move fast. To stop fighting the shape of the city and start flowing through it the way it wants you to. By the end of the night, you either need to buy a car or learn how to turn into a bat, because Tucson is no place for pedestrians. Covenant Pawn Shop is wedged between an auto repair shop and a nail salon, across from a Title Max. Sign reads, "Cash for guns, we buy gold," and closed. You step into the sad, dusty, spiritual void of the pawn shop. You pass PS4 games, bedazzled purses, a glass case full of rings, regalado perfecto, and enough rifles to conquer Belgium. The first thing you do is stock up on a few necessities of trade. A few duffel bags and rucksacks, a mini crowbar, a small folding knife, a folding shovel, hacksaw, some lockpicks, matches, cord, electrician's tape, a flashlight, a blood and tissue kit, with extra syringes, spare USBs, and a portable toolkit. Probably not enough rope in that kit for me, but, it'll do. You stop at the knives because you recognize the silver knife in one display case. Jasper Knowles was holding it before he was killed. Or maybe it's just a knockoff of some movie prop or something. You can't be sure, but that's weird. Behind the display case with the knives is a pretty young woman with choppy blonde hair and Victoria replica railway glasses. She's peered over those sunglasses to watch you like a hawk since you pushed past the closed sign and walked in. You know that reaction. She recognizes a predator, but doesn't know exactly what kind. So this place is only tangentially connected to the Tucson Camarilla. She, are independent and kept that way because they're useful. When you get closer, the young woman leans close, studying your leather jacket. Her bare arms are covered in H.R. Geiger tattoos, sinuous, biomechanical figures in shades of gray black and green. Finally, she says, Miguel sent you. It's not quite a question, and not quite a statement. Miguel and Carlos know each other, but you don't know the details. You did ask the prince's second-in-command, Dove, about getting something to drive. Whatever. You nod. Call me Elena. Let's get you set up. She throws a red leather jacket on over her tattoos. She makes sure you can see the Glock in the shoulder holster. The cars are waiting out back. A rusted chain-link fence divides Covenant Pawnshop's parking lot from a row of rusted Cuisinart huts. The huts, and the slightly taller buildings on either side, serve to hide a full parking lot of parked cars that probably shouldn't be here. Miguel says you need wheels, Elena says. She steps into the shadows and starts messing around on her phone, but she keeps her eyes on you above the railway glasses. These cars are shit. Miguel either hates your guts or don't care if your mission for Prince Latal succeeds or fails. You instantly dismiss the vans, economy cars, and anything covered in rust or that require more cash to repair than buy. That leaves you with 4 mediocre specimens: a Mitsubishi, too many aftermarket mods, a little Honda with some electrical problems, an ancient but still rolling BMW 3 Series, and an ugly but functional Nissan Frontier. The stuff inside is 20% off, Elena says. Tonight only. Mikhail must like you, or hate me. She props the back door open. I chat up Elena. I'm curious about that knife. I'm also curious about better prices, because I'm broke. So is that what they're called, a Klingon knife? No, Elena says. Her pronunciation is flawless, and you can afford it. It's solid silver. For killing werewolves, I guess. Her tone says she doesn't believe in werewolves. Christ, are there werewolves here in Tucson? Maybe you should buy it. And I'm not selling it anyway because I think the guy who sold it might actually come back, she says. She unlocks the case and hands you the crooked silver blade. This has to be the one that Tremere was holding in the video. Elena goes back to messing around on her phone. I need an ally in this city. I tell Elena I might be down on my luck now, but I plan to move up fast. My charm and leadership skills can bring her around. Helena laughs and says, What, are you running for mayor? Do you even have a place to live? No, but in a few minutes I'm going to own a car, you say. She smiles. Then you step close and catch her eyes. Her smile falters. She seems to see you differently. Most people don't look at me like that when they know I have a gun, she says. She's a little scared now, but mostly curious. You need some sort of what, team? I might need help, you say. Are you going to rob a bank? Not planning to. Give me your phone. You watch her carefully, fearing anything that might let someone track you, but she just enters her number. Don't call me because you want to fuck, she says. You can see your face reflected in her glasses. But I might call you. Now take a step back, please. I use my supernatural senses to study both Silver Knife and Elena's body language while asking her questions about it. Probably won't get me anywhere, but let's give it a shot. Some pawnbrokers love to talk about acquisitions. They like implying that everything in their shop has a story and a mysterious heritage. But since Elena is actually involved in weird illegal shit, you know she's not going to talk unless you're careful. So you take your time, first asking about different knives, then about occult paraphernalia. Elena has a whole display of crystals, runes, stones, Lithwellan magic books, jade yoni eggs, and more esoteric artifacts. Finally, you bring her back to the silver knife. Guy who sold it, you say, older man with a beard, sort of professional? You're describing the Tamir, who died with the whip in his hands. But maybe that will jog Elena's memory. It does. He was in her a few times, she says, but the guy who sold it, her expression goes a little vague. You recognize that look. You can't be 100% sure, but you think someone messed with her memory. Now the world is full of weird, dark shit, and who knows, maybe witchcraft is real true, but you know plenty of vampires who can do that. What did they look like, you ask? Try to remember. Did you see him in a mirror? Sometimes that helps. Elena's eyes widen behind her railway shades, and she gasps. I I did. Someone you know? You ask. No, she says, still piercing together. Chinese guy, young, like my age. Blazer over t-shirt, like he was going to give a TED talk. He sold it. Shit, I can't remember how much. I must have been tired. There are a lot of Asian tech bros in Tucson, but you feel an itch in the back of your mind, a growing confidence. It's Julian Sim. It has to be the Banu Hakim. I need a gun. I check out the firearms. You don't want to drive around with a rifle or shotgun, so you scan the pistols and revolvers. Most are cheap, badly maintained, or overpriced. A few are all three. But finally you spot a Springfield Armory XDM behind a Sig Sauer that you can't afford. 400, Elena says, handing you the 45 so you can check how it feels. It looked bulky in the case, but it settles easily in your hands. Elena watches you as you rack the slide and sight down the barrel. You need something bigger to knock down a vampire, or even an old and powerful ghoul, but this is the perfect anti-human weapon. One round will take a regular mortal out of the fight, and it fits under your leather jacket without being too obvious. More importantly, you can afford it and still have a cash left over to buy a vehicle. I buy the pistol. Now, I can't afford the car I got last time, the BMW that did me well, so let's take a look at some of the others. Elena lets you pick from a wide variety of holsters and throws in 2 extra magazines with your purchase. Don't rob any gas stations within 2 blocks of here, she says, as you secure the weapon under your leather jacket. This was a blisteringly fast car for its price point back in the day, but its day is past. Still, the Mitsubishi is a big, muscular GTO with excellent acceleration and handling that is at least adequate, and it's blood red, inside and out. The problems start when you check under the hood. You can't tell if that circular thing is supposed to be a turbo or some kind of prototype Roomba from the Clinton administration, but it's fucked up, whatever it is. The electrical is an over-engineered nightmare, too. When you take the car out for a spin with Elena riding shotgun, Limp Bizkit's brake stuff almost blows your eardrums out. You can't figure out how to stop the CD from playing, so Elena just pops the whole CD player out with a screwdriver. The acceleration is good, but the turbo is wheezy and unpredictable, and the whole car feels like it'd fly apart at a hard turn. 400, Elena says when you get back, shoving the CD player into place. I'll throw in the corn CD and the sun visor for free. One of them is live at Woodstock 99. Alright, the Frontier. The pickup is the newest vehicle in the lot in your price range, though that isn't saying much. It's ugly on the outside, rust stained in Salt Street. Did someone drive this thing down from Manitoba? It's not particularly fast. Even though it's fairly new, you know it's going to turn like a 53 Mercury. But all that post-2000 passenger safety know-how accounts for something. Pound for pound, the Frontier is as tough as the little B&W, and the Frontier has a lot more pounds. If you find yourself rolling into a gunfight across broken rocks, or back in time to fight flat the Impalers heavy infantry, this is the vehicle for you. And it's black. You take the Nissan around the parking lot, then around the block for a few times with Elena riding shotgun. There's plenty of room in here if you ever need to transport something bigger than a envelope, like a cursed sarcophagus. Who would want to do that? Might just have been a whole game about it, but hey. This Nissan is perfect. Still, the driving experience is visually unpleasant. It's floaty and slow, the visibility isn't as great as you were expecting, and you think something is wrong with the electrical because it doesn't feel like the power steering is right. You're gonna hate driving this thing, but it drives. Let's try the Honda. First, it's a convertible. There's nothing like feeling the wind in your hair and the drying blood in your teeth. Secondly, the little Honda is quick for an older car. Not just as fast in a straight line like the Mitsubishi, but more maneuverable. Third, it's a bit like your old CRX, just smaller and sportier. Fourth, it's black inside and out. The cons? Its electrical system is trash beyond all recognition, and even Elena has to disclose the number of accidents it's been in. You're worried that a ghoul with a golf club and some Vitae could smash this car to pieces. You're worried it might just burst into flames driving down the interstate. You take it around the parking lot, and then around the block, a few times with Elena riding shotgun. Take a few stupidly fast turns. The little convertible does great. Then you spend a few minutes parked, messing with the switches. There are a lot of flickers and sputters, but no showers of sparks. That's good, right? Okay, we can't afford it, but the BMW was nice. With this car, you can probably party like it's 1985, because you're pretty sure it was built in 1985. The exterior is gunmetal gray, and the inside leather is dry and cracked, like it's suffering from some kind of foot disease. It smells like tobacco, the AC doesn't work, and the back seats are torn and patched with duct tape. But the bones of the car are excellent. The engine is clean, and it's as fast as the two sports cars, almost as maneuverable as a modern vehicle, and more importantly, it's tough as nails. This thing survived Reaganomics and Glasnost. It can survive whatever you can crash it into. You take it around the parking lot, then around the block for a few times with Elena riding shotgun. It's old and a bit ratty, but it accelerates hard, turns well, and feels solid, like driving a refrigerator with a really good engine. All this can be yours for a meager $560. That's a steal. Unfortunately, you can't afford it. I think we're going to go with the Honda. There are situations further in the game that might be benefited from the Nissan, but it's hardly top of the line. But at least it'll be fun to drive until it suddenly explodes. I'll take it, you say. I didn't even get to my hard sell, Elena says. There's not a lot of bureaucracy here. You give Elena $480. She gives you the keys, the registration, and a Garfield at the beach umbrella in case the roof sticks open and it rains. I am done shopping for now. It's 2:16 according to your knockoff watch when you pull out of Covenant Pawn Shop in your new Honda. And sunrise at 6:29 a.m. It's still early, so you drive around for an hour just to find the cheapest gas stations and the fastest way out of town. Then you accelerate smoothly onto East Broadway Boulevard near a plasma center and head for the garage address you got earlier. When a shadow crosses the hood of your Honda, you look up and catch a glimpse of a wing eclipsing a streetlight. Was that Prince Latau's eagle? You find your spot in the underground parking garage. Right in front of it is a metal door with a keypad. You grab everything from your Honda, lock it, and enter the code. Inside is an office with peeling linoleum floors, an ancient metal desk with a rusty mini fridge on it, and a sleeping bag. A short tile corridor ends in a jury-rigged shower and a drain. There's a clear plastic bag and some toiletries on the tile, and a bottle of 409 that won't do anything against the smell of mildew. There's no Wi-Fi. Still, it's better than sleeping in a boiling hot clothing drop-off, and your phone actually gets good reception. Even better, there are escape routes into the sewers you can use. You loosen the grates and make sure you have a clear route into the sewers in case you're exposed. You're just getting settled in when you hear your door lock beep. The metal door opens, and there's Julian Sim. Good old Julian. A new personal load, Julian says. He's wearing a glitch t-shirt and a smile. He starts seeing her and looks down and says, "You have to invite me in." No, I fucking don't, Julian, because that's not how vampires work. Come on in. Make yourself comfortable. Give me a reason why I shouldn't shoot you until you can't regenerate and then drag you out to meet the sunrise. I play it cool, but I smell an opportunity here. Julian was always brilliant. I'm actually trying to do legitimate work, so if you could leave, I'd appreciate it. Hmm. So, my last character played both sides. This ended badly for me, and I think I know which direction I'm going. No, I fucking don't, Julian, because that's not how vampires work. Still, I think it's important to set boundaries, Julian says. But if you're going to be difficult, he tosses you a tiny webcam. This was in your ceiling, by the way. Give me your phone and I'll take care of the tracking there. He looks so young, you think, as he wanders in and out of your shitty crash pad, sweeping for bugs. For some reason, you expected him to age. You look at yourself in your Honda side view mirror. You haven't aged either. Man, it's been a while, Julian says, leaning against your doorframe. I remember the nights we spent keeping that elder asleep with the offerings of blood, days curled up together in the desert. Wasn't it romantic? Until suddenly it wasn't. I'm not willing to tell Julian that I miss him. Do I miss him? No, I don't miss him. This character does not miss him. I'm not saying anything about what happened when we were fledglings. How have you been? Good, good, Julian says, catching your hint. Getting rich, being smart. You know how I am. He glances around your new hovel again. Anyway, we need to discuss Clan Tremere and things they get up to in their research. I've been working with Jasper Knowles lately. Terrible what happened to Jasper. Of course, it's also terrible what he did to that sewer rat, and that Outlander, and that... Anyway. What's worse is that lately I've been working with Jasper, not canite to canite, but man to man, as it were. Of course, Jasper went and screwed it all up with his experiments, and I had to get rid of his... Julian studies you for a moment, then his eyes widen. You found the damn knife, he says. You're too clever for your own good. You're starting to monologue, Julian. That's a dangerous habit. Why don't you just tell me what you want me to know? Hard living has made you dull, Kitu, the Banu Hakim says. Fine. Since the Convention of Thorns, the Masquerade has protected us from mortal scrutiny. We hide what we are. We live in the shadows, but that can't last. He tosses the USB webcam up and down. The Second Inquisition should have taught us that. One day soon, humans will learn the truth. This is inevitable. Do you know why Jasper Knowles decided to end his experiments with that Nosferatu? Because someone filmed it when it got out. Then he called me to turn the video from Masquerade Breach into a trailer for a new student horror film. I had to fake some date stamps, but the Tremere paid me well. That's going to happen more and more, Kitu. And eventually it's going to be happening every night, all the time, always on, constant streaming. We must stop offering a hard wall against this inevitability and start creating a guided path for mortals. You're talking about a whole new way humans will be forced to view the world. That's ambitious. I'm familiar with this kind of speculation. There's another option, curtailed world of walled gardens and limited information. Maybe you're right, but that's all years from now. This year, this night, all I want is enough to survive. I'm not turning humans into pets of the kindred. Well, yeah, this character would. See, I think a Toreador would be familiar with the concept of stagnation, that the gardens and limited information would have already led to a type of boredom that is death. Maybe just survival. Maybe you're right, but that's all years from now. This year, this night, all I want is enough to survive. Then I'll help you survive, Julian said. That's why I'm here. Tomorrow, now that you have this beautiful machine, Julian says, banging the hood of your Honda, Prince Latal will give you one of 3 USBs. Would you like to know what's on them? He doesn't let you answer. One warns the Bruja Patermuster about renovations to his hospital that will expose his follower. One informs the Tremere Nvidia call that her mentor Jasper Knowles is dead, and her funding is cut off because her facility's contacts with mundane biomedical research firms threatens the Masquerade. One tells the Ventru Lynn of Olive Crana that the Second Inquisition is coming for a little prison buffet down at the border. Wherever you go, the people there will use you or destroy you to escape what's coming. And it's all happening because of Jasper's experiments. I already know that, and you only know it because you were listening in on the prince. Why are you telling me this? I absolutely don't trust Julian, but once he starts talking, it's not like there's any way to stop him. So what do you want me to do? I don't give a damn about the usurpers and their sorcery. This is the fault of the Camarilla letting their favored clans run wild. Second Inquisition? You sure they're active again? If they are, I need to watch myself lest I be destroyed. I already know that, and you already only know it because you were listening in on the prince. I had to tell the Tau. Cut a deal with the Camarilla. Camarilla's so sloppy I could have learned what I know from 100 sources, Julian says. They're always sloppy, and that puts you and me in danger. Especially you, Kitu. That's all. I won't even ask you to work against Prince Latau or the Camarilla. Just watch for the SI. But first, let me straight how disposable you are to the prince. Now think back to what I taught you. What's the best place to begin, Kitu? The walls? Latau's thralls? His pet bird? Riga? Another damn test. Julian used to love these. But though you sometimes appreciate the Camarillan tradition, Julian always had a knack for spotting spies. He watches you as you look around the little garage, trying to ignore your lingering hunger. I examine the camera. Auspex. Instead of waiting outside, Julian sweeps your Honda for bugs. Once he's done, he doesn't say anything. Even as sunrise approaches and you continue to work. You unscrew the webcam and check the serial numbers of its individual parts. Using your supernatural perception and your phone, you trace some of those serial numbers to domestic suppliers, then to defense contractors. You recognize some of those names from your time with Julian. These are SI suppliers, you whisper. Exactly, Julian said. So either the SI installed that webcam, or Prince Latau's people installed it, unaware of its provenance. Which is worse? Or Julian is lying from top to bottom in order to manipulate you. He takes out his phone, checks the time, frowns a little. You're going to need better security than this if you stay here, he says. What are you going to wake up? Cameras? Poison gas like we used in Fort Worth? Maybe laser tripwires. Despite the late hour, it takes Julian a while to get Julian off the subject of security. Finally, he drops his voice and says, You need to be ready for the SI kit too. Anyway, I've been thinking about Aaliyah. Actually, it's probably Ayla. Shut the fuck up, I regret. Why bring up our crimes now? Let's not speak of those we've lost. Let's not speak of those we've lost. I still remember the incredible, perverse sense of power when I drank Ayla's ancient blood, although I won't give Julian the pleasure of admitting it. I'm glad you understand what power looks like, kid, too, Julian says. When I was young, I thought knowledge was power. My embrace taught me that power is power. I think the deliberately of Ayla taught you the same thing. It's true. You can still feel Ayla's striking strength, and sometimes, especially when the hunger is upon you, you can still hear her thoughts screaming through your withered veins. It's almost sunrise, Julian says, checking his phone again. I'm late for prayer. He slips a business card out of the glitch hoodie and says, With my super contact dead, my old Denver company 2000X is on hiatus, but I'm still thinking about the future. The 22nd century. Think about that, kid, too. It's sort of a blank spot in our imagination. I mean, human imagination, too. We talked about the 21st century's kids. We can still, in a way, imagine the far future. What's coming? What's it going to be like to be 80 or 100 years from now? Because I plan to be there, and I want your help. You're getting the impression that Camarilla wants you. Maybe Prince Latau just wants you as a patsy, in case the Second Inquisition hits him like a fist of God. But he hasn't mistreated you yet, and you know that the kindred of the Camarilla do not serve two masters. You can tell me the details tomorrow. I lie. I'll call you. What scheme of yours has turned out well, Julian? Fuck your hard sell, Julian. Maybe it would be better to discuss it over bed? Hmm. Hmm. I will not succeed in lying. And even though I don't have any intimidation, fuck your hard sell, Julian. I'm not saying no, but I get right up into his face to make it clear I won't be yanked to ground. Not again. Never again. He takes a surprised step back and seems to reconsider you. You've changed, he says. It's been 10 years of this, you snap. You're surprised by your own rage. He reaches out to Julian like poison gas, and he presses himself against the wall. He quickly masters himself, but he seems to watch you now with greater care and respect. No hard sell, then, he says. My offer stands. When things go bad with Prince Latal and the Camarilla, and you have to know they will, get in touch with me. It's been 2 years for me, too. Everything is different now. He hands you a card with information about how to reach him, motel where he's staying, location of drop box. There's a little glyph-like knife doodled on the card. A karambit, he says. I'm not exactly a regular member of Clan Banu Hakim, so that's what I'm using instead of the old 2000 X Largo to mark my holdings. No name yet. Just the mark. Look for it, Kitu. And he opens the door to your little office rooms, scans the shadows, and disappears into the garage. In no evident hurry, despite the proximity of sunrise, the metal door swings shut,